Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this episode of What's the Story, we'll be going through the entire story of Infinity Train. Infinity Train is the first anthology series on Cartoon Network, meaning each season is its own book, with its unique set of main characters, with little to no recurring characters between the books. Being an anthology series, we will divide this story into 3 different videos, each telling the story of a book. This video will be focused on Book 1, The Perennial Child. Make sure you like and subscribe so you won't miss future uploads, and comment down what you want to know the story of. So, let's get to it. Before we start, I'd like to give a spoiler warning. If you're not caught up with everything Infinity Train related, what are you even doing here? Go catch up and then come back. Anyways, let's dive into the video. What's the story of Infinity Train Book 1, The Perennial Child? It all starts on Friday, November 22nd, 2019, when Book 1's hero, Tulip, walks home with her friend Michaela, and they talk about Tulip going to game design camp in Oshkosh. However, her excitement stops almost immediately when Michaela asks Tulip about her parents, which leads us to find that Tulip is a child of divorce. And through their dialogue, we see that Tulip isn't taking it so well, and still has some anger towards the subject. On top of that, tensions rise even higher when Tulip discovers she won't be able to attend camp due to both her parents overscheduling by mistake. Full of anger and sadness, Tulip argues with her mother and storms up to her room, feeling disappointed by them. But even though she didn't have a proper way to travel, she decides to run away and go to game design camp all by herself on foot. Tulip quickly realizes the difficulty of her situation when she is suddenly met by a mysterious train claiming to go to Oshkosh. However, this train quickly jumps from sketchy to full-on terrifying when a beam of green light abducts Tulip to a new location similar to the one she was in. Not knowing anything, Tulip wakes up and thinks that she fell asleep in the snow, and the train was a part of her dream. But she quickly finds a robot pretending to be a snowman. The robot, suffering from amnesia and claiming to be on search for his mom, is named 1-1 and is technically a mix of 2 personalities, one that is optimistic called Glad One and one that is pessimistic called Sad One, hence his name 1-1. Tulip befriends 1-1 and he joins her on her journey. Then she stumbles upon a giant snowman with a red door at its base. So she opens it to find herself on a huge train, and upon seeing the outside of it, she freaks out of joy. And the next door only increases her excitement as she walks into the grid car, where she is able to build whatever she wants from the cubes within said car. Tulip uses that ability to replicate the characters of the video game she created, good guys popping bad guys, which impresses 1-1. Attempting to get a block on the ceiling, Tulip takes off her glove and throws it, but while retrieving it, she notices a glowing green number on her hand. Tulip freaks out and quickly realizes the immense gravity of her situation, finding herself on a seemingly infinite train in the middle of a literal wasteland. And to make matters even worse, Tulip witnesses a man being incinerated by a mysterious yellow vortex. Tulip tries to escape from the train, only to be stopped by some kind of cockroach beasts known as goons, that have the power to steal the life out of a person. One of the goons chases Tulip and 1-1 back to the grid car, but fortunately they were able to outsmart it and flee from it. After that traumatizing experience, Tulip vows to unlock the secret of the train and go back home. In her trials, she goes through many analytical approaches to try and figure out the number on her hand. After timing herself and busting through many cars, nothing budges the number except for when she shares a fond memory of her father with 1-1. But 1-1 unintentionally pushes her to believe that when her number hits 0, she will die instantly. But the true function of the numbers is made clear to the audience very soon, as Tulip enters the beach car, a car that holds within a society of water creatures known as Randalls. One of the clients of the market is a deviant cat known as the Cat, who recognizes 1-1 and convinces Tulip to trade him in exchange for the cat getting the conductor to let Tulip off the train. But after a Randall explains his business plan to Tulip, she takes it way too deeply and realizes she needs to get 1-1 back from the cat, which she does successfully. Next, Tulip and 1-1 enter the Corgi car, where they meet Atticus, the king of corgis, who recruits Tulip and One to help fight a monster that was terrorizing their kingdom. This monster, however, ends up being another main part of the train, the steward, who has machine guns for eyes. Well played, Infinity Train. Anyways, despite all her efforts, Tulip is unable to defeat the steward, but conveniently, the robot flees after making contact with One. Atticus then decides to join One and Tulip on their journey as a way to pay back their service. This takes us to the crystal car, where nothing much happens, except that, in order to unlock the door, Tulip has to sing a song from the heart, which ends up being a song sung by Tulip and her parents on road trips, pushing Tulip's journey to recovery even further along. Then, we get the highly anticipated cat car, inhabited by none other than the cat herself, who tries to trick Tulip by trapping her in her own memory tape, which is something each passenger has. In the tape, Tulip initially finds happy memories of her with her parents, until she realizes that things aren't quite right, which means that what she was seeing wasn't actual memories, but a better or worse version of them that she either wishes were or weren't true. But in reality, things were either better or worse. For example, the day at the football game could have been better, but the portrayal of her parents' divorce was way off and took a hellish path, which she realizes wasn't really that bad. Tulip confronts the cat about her actions, then decides to hide her number and try to find a way off the train without thinking of that, and then proceeds to leave the cat car. Shortly after Tulip leaves, the conductor and steward arrive to said car and nearly kill the cat, until she begs for mercy and promises that she will turn in both Tulip and One. After Tulip confronted her past, it was One's turn as they enter the unfinished car, which is kind of a university campus inhabited by turtles who managed to build their lives around the quirks in this place. Yet, despite One's normal behavior in other cars, this one seems to drive him crazy, stating that something is wrong with it, and that it was all his fault. So, he rushes to try and fix it by removing and rearranging orbs within the car, which gives us insight that these orbs, which the steward was messing with back in Corginia, were basically what makes each car alive and its own functional universe. Back to the present, One's attempt to fix the car endangers the lives of everyone in it, but luckily Tulip was able to reach out to him and tell him that this car's state isn't his fault, just like her parents' divorce wasn't her fault. After getting through to him, One restores the car to its original quirky state, and our trio advances to the chrome car. Much like its name implies, this car is made out entirely of chrome, with a puzzle within they have to solve. While trying to figure out what the puzzle was, Tulip realizes that her reflection wasn't exactly a reflection, as it wasn't copying her same moves, but instead was shooting her with a very nasty look. We quickly find out that Tulip's reflection, or mirror Tulip, was a sentient being, and tells Tulip that to be able to unlock the door, they need to switch places and unlock the door at the same time. Tulip goes against her friend's warning, and agrees to switch only for Mirror Tulip to double-cross her and declares her own independence as her own person. Tulip seeks help from Atticus and One's reflections, who were like the opposite of the real Atticus and One. So, Mirror One tells her he already called for the reflection enforcement, also known as the Flex. Agent Sieve and Agent Mace, two cops from the Flex, quickly arrive to the scene and begin to pursue Mirror Tulip, or as they call her, a Slither. Against our Tulip's wishes, the Flex want to literally murder Mirror Tulip, so she fights to save both herself and her reflection. While Mirror Tulip can't escape the chrome car, since there aren't any reflective surfaces on the outside, Tulip offers a way for both of them to escape. But Mirror Tulip, being a literal reflection of Tulip, refuses help much like Tulip used to refuse it, and drown herself in her own misery, causing Tulip to reflect on her previous actions, no pun intended. After a very meaningful dialogue between the two, Mirror Tulip agrees to switch back with Tulip, who promised her own mirror, and they both manage to escape thanks to the mirror in Tulip's pocket. However, instead of tagging along with Tulip and the gang, Mirror Tulip decides to take her own path and discover her own identity outside of Tulip. Mirror Tulip also encourages Tulip to take off her glove and free herself from what the train thinks of her. As they split ways, Tulip removes her glove and finds out that her number has gone all the way down to 3, which, thanks to the cat, we know is a very good thing. After all that insanity, more disaster is still on its way as the trio enter the ball pit car, which is basically a huge play area that no one could ever resist. Inside the car, they find a stuffed rabbit named Khaki Bottoms that takes them on a fun adventure in the playground. But the fun ends when the steward attacks. They try to escape, but unfortunately, they didn't have any luck with that. And to make things even worse, the conductor arrives to the scene and completely shatters Tulip's self-esteem, claiming that her journey and progress interfered with the conductor's plans, revealing that trapping Tulip in her happy memories was supposed to be a gift, and technically to get her out of the way and take 1-1. The conductor continues to double-cross the cat and completely destroy Tulip, telling her everything's her fault. Atticus then attacks the conductor in an attempt to save Tulip, but unfortunately, it's no use. To prove a point to Tulip and make her stop her journey, the conductor shoots Atticus and leaves, while the steward destroys what remains of the car. As they exit, Atticus transforms into a goon, attempting to drain Tulip of her life. But it turns out Atticus was still in there somewhere, as the goon manages to stop itself, and Tulip traps him to prevent him from harming anything else. And then bursts into tears as 1-1 tries to comfort her. Ready to surrender after losing her friend, Tulip's number starts to go back up. The cat, who was able to survive all of this, offers Tulip the conductor's state as a symbol of goodwill. So, Tulip, the cat, and 1-1 proceed to enter the conductor's state and learn the conductor's origins. A couple of kids known as Ulrich and Amelia have been in love since they were kids. We see them graduate together and even see Amelia propose to Ulrich, and everything was going to plan. Using a voice modifier, Ulrich does a voice that seemed a lot like the conductor's, alarming Tulip. As they fast forward, we find out that Ulrich had passed away, which brought Amelia to a very low point in her life. Back at her university campus, Amelia was heading towards what looks like the main building, when the roof mysteriously disappears, and the Infinity Train arrives to take her, and then she managed somehow to become the conductor. The cat then points out that the front of the train has cannons similar to the one Amelia used to shoot Atticus, and if another one of those exists, then maybe they would be able to save him. But Tulip doesn't care for the conductor and claims that Amelia was just running away from her problems, and realizes that's exactly what she was doing. And now she's ready to confront those problems. And because of that realization, Tulip's number reaches 0, and she's presented with a way home. But Tulip couldn't leave Atticus that way, so she decides to save him before heading home. So Tulip works together with the cat to reach the front of the train, the engine. As they arrive, the cat decides that this was her cue to leave, and encourages Tulip by telling her that she always does the right thing. Tulip, still stuck with a trapped goon Atticus, goes through the latest car Amelia's been working on, which is a lot like the unfinished car they went through earlier. Reaching the engine, Tulip confronts Amelia, who's shocked Tulip hadn't gone home after her number hit 0. Trying to distract Amelia, Tulip traps her in her tape as a sort of payback, and snatches the gun that requires a Corgi orb to be able to turn Atticus back, but couldn't find any. Amelia then triggers some kind of alarm that awakes the steward and causes it to destroy the tape, liberating Amelia, who threatens to change Tulip's number and send her exit as far back in the train as possible. But Tulip stands her ground and unleashes Goon Atticus at the steward. Then, Tulip runs to the car we saw earlier in hopes of finding a Corgi orb while running away from Amelia. Then, she realizes that the car was Amelia trying to recreate her life where Ulrich had never died and she could still be with her love. Explaining her point of view, Amelia tempts Tulip with a chance to live in a car where her parents are still together. But Tulip knows that that wouldn't be real, and strikes a hit at the conductor's suit, revealing what Amelia looks like. Meanwhile, 1-1 finally reunites with his mother, the engine, revealing that he is the real conductor, and he takes control of the train and the steward, then restores Atticus to his corgi form. Amelia is then removed from her suit and forced to face reality. The trio is then properly reunited, and Amelia explains that she removed 1-1 after he refused to make the car she wanted, and reveals that her number is so high that it covers her entire body up to her neck. Tulip then encourages Amelia to adapt to the changes in her life, and hopes that one day she'll get her exit too. 1-1 restores Tulip's exit, which she goes through after an emotional goodbye with 1-1 and Atticus, bringing Tulip's journey full circle as she goes back home, and Tulip's 5 months on the train are done. 7 months later, Tulip has adapted to the new changes in her life and even has a new haircut. Her father arrives to finally take her to camp, and as they are walking by, we see that Tulip lacks a reflection, meaning that all the events of the train were real, and Tulip declares she's ready for anything, which brings us to the end of Book 1, The Perennial Child. So that was a recap of the entire story of Infinity Train Book 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please comment down if you think I missed anything, and tune in next time for Book 2, Cracked Reflection, where things get very real, very fast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down what you would like me to tell you the story of. Follow me on my social medias, the links are down in the description and in the end card. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time on WTS.